Hello and good evening. Tonight is the night of the full moon, and I am actually away on a spiritual, historical immersion and retreat. So I'm going to bring this to you very quickly and impromptu, but I wanted to at least put something up for the Taurus full moon, which feels appropriate because it is conjunct Uranus. So here we are doing this kind of virtually crazy with Zoom, and we're just going to get right to it because I do not have a whole lot of time. Okay, you should be seeing my screen up here with the full moon. Here we have the sun in 24 degrees of Scorpio opposing our moon down here. Oh my gosh, with Uranus right there. The moon is in applying conjunction to Uranus. So this full moon is bringing some sort of surprise. This could even be like a loss or an amputation. Typically, full moons do have to do with losses, but this could be a very sudden loss or cutting off of. Perhaps you're feeling restless or rebellious. Something might feel very, very urgent. You also might have something come into your scope that really shakes you or rattles you. Perhaps it's a piece of news or further insight. It might be a relationship dynamic that you're dealing with, because oftentimes oppositions for full moons like this can deal with relationship. A lot of this full moon has to do with security, because this Taurus Scorpio axis is all about security. So, what is being brought up for you in terms of the realm of security? I always work with an Aries 0 degrees rising chart, so we're not going to talk about houses today. We're just going to cover aspects. But if we look, right, we have this 24-degree moon, this 25-degree Uranus, and it's sitting a little wide, but this is talking to that Pluto, which is in the final days of Capricorn. It's been there since 2008. We are wrapping up this time. Really big news here, but of course, I have been talking about Pluto wrapping up its time in Capricorn for a number of months now. So this is, really coming to the close, coming to an end of a chapter, end of an era, moving into the next era of Aquarius. This is huge. I don't want to spend too much time, however, on this, because while it is making this exact trine here, it will be today that it will be exact. The moon will move into an exact trine with Pluto in its full moon phase. So you may really be feeling like a culmination or an ending or some kind of summing up or conclusion of a large chapter in your life. Something I want to make note of here, which is huge, is Saturn today in Pisces went direct. This is massive. Saturn is totally slowing down. It's our ruler of this Pluto, in fact. But Saturn has been in Pisces, has been retrograde for months. Today it went station direct. So that means that it's at a standstill. If we think about a slingshot, it is being pulled at the furthermost point. So there's a lot of potential wrapped up energy in this Saturn. It is very loud today. So Saturn now is at its closest point to Earth. Saturn's emphasis is huge. So you might feel a literal bearing down of weight or burden on you. This might also be just sort of a responsibility, or even like a sense of mastery, or I refrain from using the word achievement, because it's not so much about like a success as it is like the toils of hard work. Perhaps you've endured a grueling process and it's coming to some sort of a head or a culmination. Maybe some of this news you might have received or sudden thing is adding to this weight of this Saturn. Perhaps it feels like a really big deal or a really monumental discovery or shift in a direction, a radical change that like will set off for years to come. Saturn is always associated with time. So are you looking behind you as a culmination of what's behind you? Are you looking to the future, potentially way into the distant future? What will set the foundation for you going forward? Remembering that Saturn is in Pisces. So this is a foundation and all things that are not there, that are not physically present. So this can look like faith. This can look like love and relationship. This can look like self-sabotage or addiction, or sabotage within relationship, toxicity. So are these themes coming up for you in heavy ways? Have you had a breakthrough around this? Has it come through a lack of or a threat to security? Or is it you in an effort to build security, perhaps making strides, making cutting out in a good direction? These are all things I'm seeing just looking at this chart really quickly on this full moon. Something else I wanted to mention is because the Saturn is at a standstill, I'm looking at the aspects it's making, and it's in a square to that Mercury. So Mercury in Sagittarius is at a deficit in the sense it's the opposite from its home sign of Gemini. So in Sagittarius, it tends to boast and brag and take up a lot of space. And while it can be a brilliant storyteller and inspire and take us to dimensions and places that really expand our awareness and our knowledge, sometimes it can just stand on that pedestal for too long. So is that inhibiting or potentially activating that Saturn, that weight, that burden? That responsibility. What is the Mercury? So are you seeing that in your relationships? Are you perhaps standing on a bit of a pedestal? Are your dreams not really aligning with reality or like sober reality, right? Because Saturn in Pisces can be especially sobering. So is that Mercury? Is our mind or our words speaking to something that isn't even resonating or is like energizing us? Because this is a square. Square is activation energy. So all of this I'm seeing very strongly at play here. If I take a just quick glance at everything else, I guess I should mention because Pisces is so activated, our other ruler of Neptune is also in a sextile with Uranus still. And again, also like same amount of orb to Pluto. So this Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto sextile trine, right? So we have a trine here and then a sextile and a sextile. It's not showing here because the distance is wide enough. It's not considering it with an orb. But I would certainly say that there are levels of activation here on a subconscious level that are going to have much like further implications for the future. If we look right here, of course, our north node is interacting with our Neptune as it gets closer and closer, still 6 degrees away. It's in a different sign, but we're really starting to potentially see the effect that that north node, that collective evolutionary growth we are all taking is going to have on Neptune. This is our subconscious. This is the realm of fantasy, the realm of escapism and dreams. This is, again, unconditional love, connection with angels. But this is also things like addiction. Like, what are we as a society addicted to? Where do we escape to when we want to dream forward and think bigger and expand our awareness? So much of this has to do with spirituality as well. So how is this being activated for you? Are you aware of the different activations happening on a subconscious level? I'm seeing all of this and really this full moon as a giant trigger to this Uranus. We should talk about the planetary ruler to wrap this up. So that Uranus and moon conjunction is happening in Taurus. So the ruler of that is going to be Venus. She's up here having newly entered Capricorn on the 11th. So when Venus enters Capricorn, we get a lot more practical with our money, with our relationships, with our time and energy. We're conserving, we're potentially saying no to things in order to bring us more worth, more confidence, more frankly, like appreciation of self and self-love. This can look like really sort of setting up boundaries in place so that way we take care of ourselves better, as well as taking care again of finances. We get very practical, very grounded. We're not really going to just buy anything anyone's selling. In fact, we're probably going to be conserving a lot. So are you saving for something? Is that part of the reason why this activation is resonant for you, if that's something you're experiencing? If it's happening in terms of relationships, how could this be trying to break through that or rattle the practical foundation that Venus is trying to set? Are you trying to plan for the future for that? So remembering that Venus, our new ruler of this, or I should say our ruler of this moon, has newly moved into a sign, getting much more grounded, really concerned with the tangible. And of course, what is the purpose of that is to further the ambitions of going further and producing potentially more. It can also look like just having the amount of self-respect and confidence to conserve, because Saturn is our ruler of Venus, right? So if we trace it back, now we go from Taurus to Venus, and then Venus in Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, once again in retrograde direct motion. So moving into direct motion, I should say, today. So Saturn has a huge effect on this, and it might even feel like almost like a Saturn-Uranus square, which we collectively went through a few years ago. But this can really be sort of a tug of war, a push and pull between wanting to progress forward and being held back. So are these themes showing up for you? Are they showing up in your relationships? Are you having one of the energies come in a relationship and you're exhibiting the opposite side of that? Maybe the Saturn is coming toward you, that sense of authority, that sense of pressure or responsibility, and you're in the place of restlessness and I want it now and I need to move and I don't care what you say. I'm going to throw out that, I'm in my truth right now, and that's what feels really relevant, kind of taking in some of that Mercury too. Or are you the opposite, where you're being met with all of, well, this is my truth and my belief, and I need to act now, and this is what I need to do, and this is what's happening. And that Saturn in you is saying, wait, slow down, connect, go deeper. So wherever you are in this journey, just recognize that these are the energies at play in the sky right now. We are having a lot of subconscious collective growth here, collective development. There are stories and themes at play that potentially we're not even really seeing the full effects of. And I want to thank you so much for following my YouTube channel. I apologize for getting this up a little bit later. Again, I've been sort of stuck in when might I get a chance to put this forecast out, but this energy is going to last for the next couple of days, of course. That Uranus being activated by the moon is huge, and the sun is going to take a few days to come off of that opposition to Uranus. So you may still be feeling the effects of that shake up for a little while longer. And of course, Saturn is moving at a standstill for a little while. So I wish you all the best. May you manifest a life of divine purpose and glory, for you are worthy and you are free. Blessed be.